Chiefs and the Bengals. And of course, Patrick Mahomes
Mm-hmm.
sustained an ankle injury. So we're actually seeing the Bengals favored on the road here by about 1.5 points. The total 46.5. What do you like for this one?
I like Joe Mixon under 3.5 receptions at -110 right now. He's been held under this 2 straight games now. The Bengals have been using Samaje Perine a lot more in the passing game. So the past 2 games, Perine is averaging a 49% route run rate. Mixon just 31%. Have to wonder, if the offensive line issues is the reason for this. They will probably continue to use Perine heavily because he's the better pass blocker. He has a 72 PFF grade as a pass blocker. He hasn't allowed a sack on the season. Joe Mixon, he has a 30 PFF pass blocking rate. He's been credited with allowing 3 sacks on the season. So have to figure this trend sticks this week. Plus Perine's been getting all the 2-minute offense snaps. That's when running backs can really rack up receptions. That's when he was able to clear the over I had last week. He got 3 or 4 catches in a row down the first half. So that's huge that Perine's getting the 2-minute offense. So I'm projecting Mixon closer to 3 receptions here. And just in these markets, a half reception is just massive. So I have him around a 62% chance of staying under. So I'd probably bet this down to -135 or so.
Yeah. It's been interesting to watch because I shout out to Mixon for saving some of my tournament lineups last week because he was my contrarian captain. He actually got it done in a game where it was kind of wonky with any of the Bills guys. But yeah, no, we've been talking about this for weeks now that Perine is continuing to mix in. No pun intended, right? But he's been continuing. I don't even want to say mix in. He's been continuing to be their go-to passing down back. And you thought maybe the deeper you got into the postseason, the more you would see that kind of revert to the mean. But what's happening is they're becoming they're still using Mixon. They're still able to get him his 20 touches without necessarily playing him on these passing downs where they obviously don't like to play him because, like you said, just not as good of a pass blocker, even though probably a better you'd probably rather have the ball in his hands than Perine, push come to shove. But I think the blocking really tilts it toward Perine because Perine's been a lot better, I think, this year with the ball in his hands than he's been in years past. Mm-hmm. So, I expect that to continue as well. And that's been kind of, there's been an angle on Mixon pretty much every week. So we'll see, we'll see what else we can find because I feel like even his rushing market might be interesting this week because Perine also mixed in. Yeah, it was like what was it, 20-7 in favor of Mixon. So that's a little lower than we would have expected too. So
some of that was due to just Mixon being so good.
I know.
He had like back-to-back 50-yard carries. He had to get out of the game, and then Perine just busted off an 11-yard run. So. It seemed like Mixon had to keep pulling himself out of the game because he was being so efficient. But I noticed that too. And just both running backs played well last week. They're favored by 2.5 now, so it could be
I saw 1.5, so it's been kind of moving around. And that's something though, that could be a little bit of an overreaction to the Mahomes news, or if he's let's say he's super gimpy, it could be an underreaction. So I do think that is something you for everyone listening, again, just check the app, check what we're doing here because there could be value on just the running volume as well, depending on where this line ends up at. All right, I'm going with similar, and by the way, I have Mixon right around 3 catches as well, right? So nice. It's and usually I have, and I am factoring in the fact that he's like 30% target per route.
I was gonna say like
season.
I'm factoring in as well. Like when he is out there, he has been seeing targets. That's why I didn't want to attack his receiving yard market. I'm showing 7 to 8 yards of value there. But just when it comes to this market, it just has more to do with playing time. He's just not seeing as many routes, so it's gonna be harder for him to get there with this. But I have noticed that last week it was down to just a 14% per route run. But overall, he's been seeing a ton of volume when he's out there. But just again, the limited playing time just makes me show a ton of value in this under.
Yeah. All right, I'm going with a similar kind of prop, a little more juiced up, but I think it's a great value. Isaiah Pacheco under 1.5 catches at minus 165. This is a guy that I'm projected for one catch. Week in, week out, I'm projecting him for one catch. Yeah. So in terms of the juice, like I'd probably stop it around minus 200. I know people don't want to bet even that high sometimes, but there's probably, he's caught more than one pass in just 4 of his last 5, and that's with him being the starter. And on the season, he's gotten multiple catches in just 4 of his 18 games now. So the likelihood of him getting 2 catches is very low. And the issue in the playoffs, and we saw this last week, and is that you have Jerick McKinnon, his role increases in the playoffs. Now, I know it didn't show last week necessarily in the receiving department, but Jerick McKinnon's getting more early down snaps. Those are coming out of Pacheco. And because of that, there's a ceiling on how many routes Pacheco can run. It just depends on how many times they call a pass play on early downs. Now, with Mahomes a little gimpy, that likelihood may decrease. They may be a little more run heavy. So, he played only 35% of the snaps last week. And, usually is around, 25 to 33% of the routes. And that's pretty much his ceiling. And he still hasn't been clearing multiple receptions in this market. So, there's a chance Pacheco could, run around on under 25% of the dropbacks this week. But he's just a guy that he's in there to run the ball. He's not really in there to catch the ball. And the more negative game script you see, the more passing downs, the more you're going to see Jerick McKinnon in that 2-minute, in that hurry up and whatnot. So I think there's a lot of different ways Pacheco goes under. And by the way, the Bengals are number 2 in DVOA on passes to running back. So I don't think it's going to be in the game plan necessarily, even with Mahomes banged up for the back to do much. If anything, I think Pacheco may end up staying in the pass block, making sure Mahomes doesn't get blasted if he does play, right. Because you can't leave Kelsey in the pass block. Maybe you go a little heavier. You could leave Noah Gray in or Blake Bell, but more than likely, it's just going to be the back. Blocking for Patrick Mahomes here. So, I mean, maybe there might even be value on McKinnon's unders as well, but I just know he's the guy that's gonna, the more, if Cincinnati keeps playing well, it's negative game script, then you're gonna see McKinnon run a ton of routes. But Pacheco, either way, I would essentially bet this to pretty much any juice, but we'll say 200 listeners here, because I know people don't like to bet juiced up ones, but this is kind of like that Ray McLeod one a few years ago. It's like, if this doesn't hit, it's just a bad beat. Like, not catch 2 balls in this game.
Yeah, I have him projected for 1 reception as well. And again, people need to understand how valuable that half yard is. So if we're projecting 1.0 receptions like we are, the chances of him staying under is right around 72%, right in that range. So a fair line for this would be minus 270. That's why you're kind of saying you'll bet this down to any juice. Yeah. You mean it, because like this market should be, down to like minus 250, minus 270. Plus, I'm not projecting this at all, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire could return this week. So that's just added value, right? Even if he doesn't play, we're showing minus 270. Yeah. But if Edwards-Helaire suits up, I mean, we're going to be projecting him lower, like 0.6, 0.7. I don't know, but it's going to be lower. So that's even more. We could be showing a fair price of like minus 300 or more. So yeah, I'm not scared of the juice here. So yeah, this is one of those you just bet no matter what.
Here's what I would suggest. Whenever you hear this podcast, like, just bet it immediately, because what's going to happen is, if it gets to a point where it should be like the true value should be, minus 250 or whatever the books deem, they're just going to take it off the board. That's why we don't see over under half a reception. We see the receiving yards, and but the receiving yard market is a lot fairer already. It's 6.5 pretty much. And his average catch has been 10 yards. So that's why I show a lot more value on betting under the volume, because he could get like 1 catch for 10 yards or something like that. Right. You win the other bet, you don't win this one. So that's what's going to happen, is they're going to take the receptions off the board, and then people are going to say, well, should I just bet the yardage? No, you should not bet the yardage, because he's a lot, his yards per catch is actually above the league average. So that's not really like the most likely outcome is still 1 catch. So you don't want to bet under 6.5 when he's been averaging 10, and still, the more likely for a guy averaging 10, not many receptions. So we don't have a huge sample size. They're going to do a lot of regression, but still expecting about 7 to 8 yards per catch. for him, on that one catch.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think like also if you're doing like a same game parlay thing, you want to beef it up with something like this.
Yeah,
Again,
exactly.
it should be like minus 250, minus 300. Just beef up a parlay by using this, throwing that in there. Because again, this probably jives with every single game script anyway.
Yeah.
So this correlates with pretty much everything as well. So another good like sneaky same game parlay thing.